Life Audio.
This is Empowering Homeschool Conversations.
We want families to come here and gain insightful strategies that empower them to successfully teach diverse learners at home.
Hosted by founder and CEO of SPED Homeschool, Peggy Ployer.
Our goal is that these powerful weekly conversations will boost your confidence to cultivate the best at-home learning environment for your student.
For more homeschool resources, go to spedhomeschool.com. You're listening to Empowering Homeschool Conversations with Peggy Ployer. We'll start the conversation with Peggy and her guests next.
Our world can feel chaotic and uncertain, but we don't have to live enslaved to fear. Christ has promised me and you his peace, and throughout Scripture has provided powerful tools and practical steps to help us experience greater freedom. I'm Jennifer Slattery, lead host of the Faith Over Fear podcast, inviting you to join me and my team as together we learn how to starve our fears and feed our faith. Subscribe at lifeaudio.com or wherever you access podcast content.
The Historical Jesus podcast is the sweeping saga of the life and times of Galilean Jesus of Nazareth, as well as the faith, religion, and church founded to honor and disseminate his acts and teachings. Join me, Mark Vinette, on this fascinating journey through time, exploring the many great works of Christian theology, literature, architecture, music, and art inspired by the words and deeds of Jesus Christ.
This is Empowering Homeschool Conversations, provided by SPED Homeschool, a nonprofit that empowers families to home educate diverse learners. To learn more, visit spedhomeschool.com. Here's Peggy Ployer.
Today, we are going to talk about Christ-centered homeschool Christmas learning. That's a mouthful, and it's going to be a great amount of content. We have returning guest Annie Yorty with us. Welcome back, Annie. I'm super excited to have you with us again today.
Thank you so much. I really am glad to be back with your audience today, too.
Absolutely. So a little bit about Annie, and I'll make sure that we link some of her previous podcasts with us because she has so much good things to share. So you definitely want to hang on. But Annie is a wife, mother, writer, and speaker, and she offers hope and encouragement to those living through difficult situations. God has gifted her with a variety of twists and turns in life where she's had no choice but to fully rely on his person, presence, provision, and purpose. Centered and dependent on her heavenly advocate, Annie finds daily purpose and passion by advocating for God and others as his ambassador. The task of advocating was thrust upon her with the birth of her first child who has Down syndrome. In it, she finds joy in helping others discover the true needs and find resources of support and hope. She applies this calling to many interests, including parenting, disability support, global missions, and homeschooling, Bible teaching, multiple sclerosis awareness, and mentoring. As an author and speaker, Annie has taught and inspired audiences across 4 continents, from Argentina to Siberia. In addition to writing a blog on her website, Annie is a crosswalk contributing writer. Her Bible studies, devotions, and Christian living articles may also be found on blogs, online magazines, and in print. And her book, From Ignorance to Bliss, God's Heart Revealed Through Down Syndrome, offers surprising inspiration and hope Annie's gained through parenting a child with Down syndrome. She lives in Pennsylvania with her high school sweetheart, Air Force veteran husband, Jeff. They have 2 grown children and 1 still in process. And she just encourages others to look upward with her, just in everything that you do. And I'm just super excited because that's where we want to look this season. As you can see, if you're watching the video, Annie has a Christmas tree in the background. It is Christmas season. And we can get so distracted by so many things. And I'm so excited that we can focus this hour in talking about how we keep Christ at the center of everything. And I love that it's about Christmas and about learning, because we sometimes separate the two. And we want to bring it all together for you today. And Annie's got some great resources and inspiration and things to share with us. So super excited. So yeah. How about, I normally ask my guests to just say, why they're passionate about a certain subject. So I'd love for you to just kind of share with us, especially this Christmas season. What is it as far as, your family and the Christ-centered focus of Christmas? Has it always been that way for you? Is it easy? Is it a struggle? What's all involved with that when you start preparing your heart and your home for this season?
Well, it's, I've had my years of struggling with that because like everyone else, I get caught up in all the hubbub of the season, all the activities and everything. And then years and years ago, I started homeschooling. And I thought, well, I'll just keep doing all my homeschool. I'm a type A, so I have my agenda, and I'm like, we're just going to get all this stuff done during Christmas, December. But I want to do all these Christmas things too. I hate to miss out on fun and activities. And I realized pretty quickly, there's like a clash here,
right?
That we have lots of extra activities and duties and things like that. And I knew I wanted to focus on Christ throughout the season and to make that the priority. But I found that things just kind of kept getting in the way. And kids know that they're all excited about it. And they have a hard time settling down and doing your normal things.
Right.
So I just kind of gave up on that concept and then moved into another thought like, hey, this is a great opportunity in the month of December to just put a pause on some of the regular things and take some time to try some different types of learning.
Right.
Like, we're still learning all through the Christmas season because homeschooling is our lifestyle. But I can take time to relax and find the joy in the season, to focus on Christ, really intentionally throughout the year or the month, and to develop and just keep doing those traditions that we want to do as a family that knit our hearts together.
Right.
So I changed my whole focus, and I became like a lot less like Scrooge during the holidays, and just had fun with it. And we all had fun. And I look back really fondly on those times together with my kids.
Yeah. I love the word that you used, opportunity. Sometimes we see it as a distraction or as an inconvenience because we've got all this stuff going on and we have this purpose driven, for people that are type A. It's like, but I got to get this task done. And I know a lot of our audience is there. You feel the pressure of your child struggling and they're not meeting, grade level, and all these things just keep heaping on you. And now we're adding holiday stuff on top of it. And and you're asking me to, set this aside. How do we, what was there a mental shift you had to take as well to get yourself into that place?
Yeah, I had to just stop and think, I was applying my own wisdom, my human understanding to this,
right.
And that is, it does seem counterintuitive, especially if your kids are struggling or maybe you're behind. It's easy. You set your schedule maybe at the beginning of the year and you find like at Christmas, oh my goodness, we haven't done everything I had planned and I better just keep pressing on. But that's sort of what human wisdom,
Right, exactly.
And I think that God's wisdom, if we're seeking him in prayer and his word, and just understanding that his priorities are different. And we do have this opportunity right here in the middle of our school year to make Christ front and center, and just take advantage of the time and look at it from his perspective. And his ways are so upside down backwards from ours.
Exactly. Yes. And it's a matter of trust and faith. And because we don't know, what the product's going to be. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't follow the little check boxes that say it's there. If I do all this, then I get this. The problem is that is such a lie. Because even if you do all that, it doesn't guarantee you're going to get what somebody else got when they followed that process. And we can get so buried into that and buried into the guilt and the shame. And this is a season about hope and joy. And we have to make that flip completely. And so it does have to be intentional. Can you talk a little bit about intentionality and what is required to be intentional?
Well, it is important to have some intentionality when you're approaching the holiday, or we know that there's just so many things that could consume our time, and it'll just get away from us. And the important things fall by the wayside. We've seen it happen. And even if you're not like type A like me, or maybe you're not a huge planner, it's still important to make that go outside of, even if planning isn't your strength, to make it happen. That you, I'll just tell you sort of how I've done it. And, maybe the audience will have some things that they can pick up that'll work for their own families. But we typically would have a family meeting sometime around Thanksgiving, when maybe that weekend, and just sit down with all of us together with a piece of paper and a pen, and just start brainstorming. Okay, what are your favorite things during the holidays? What are things you'd like to do during this time? And just kind of, the sky's the limit, write it all down. Of course, it's not all going to happen, but that's the beauty of brainstorming.
Right, exactly.
So, thinking about not just like, some of your typical things like decorating or shopping or cooking or whatever, but what church activities do we want to be involved with? Do we want to participate in the choir, or, the special programming that's going on there? Who do we want to spend time with during the season? And put them on the list. Any kind of hospitality you want to do during the season. Are there any special activities within your family, like sibling activities, or like special, mother-daughter time, or daddy-daughter, whatever, some kind of special bonding time that this season might give that opportunity, because sometimes, you have a little bit more time off work or something like that. So just kind of list everybody's ideas, and then pull out the calendar, and it probably already has a few things on it. And then start picking and choosing, well, what are the things that are most important? We always talk about putting the big things on first. So, we want to make sure that we do something that focuses us and our hearts on the coming of Christ, the season of Advent, and then the celebration of his birth at Christmas. And then, how can we incorporate those most important things? And so some of the things will fall by the wayside. Maybe you can do them another time of year, but don't try to do it all in one.
You can do them every third Christmas.
Or even in the spring. Why not? But younger kids may be a little too young to be part of that prioritizing, but I definitely recommend bringing your older kids into that discussion, because you're modeling for them how they can keep control of their life and keep it in balance. That's a reasonable and healthy balance for life.
Yeah. That's family.
Anyways, then
it gives everybody a voice too. They feel like they have that ability to contribute.
Absolutely. And then just make your calendar and put it up on the wall, and everybody can see what's coming and anticipate it and participate. So that's fun.
Yeah, that is. And it is so good to set that example, because even if we do have a nice set aside calendar, our kids don't learn that. I mean, they catch a little bit of it, but they have to get through the thinking process of how do we weed this out? Or you can be like the Grinch of why did, mom and dad take this thing out of our schedule, not realizing we just can't fit it all in. But making them, understand, not just say, well, we're just following the schedule. So yeah. Yep. And maybe it'll become a new Easter tradition.
Right.
Because you don't have enough room for Christmas.
That's right.
But yes. So yeah, that's important. And there are only so many days and so many hours in a week, and you can do what you can do. After a word from our sponsor, we'll dive back into this conversation.
If you're hearing this right now, you're probably like, who the heck is this? And why are they playing during my favorite podcast? And I get it. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I do want to introduce myself. My name is Trevor Tyson, and I'm the host of Trevor Talks, where we talk to real people about real topics and real stories. I just want to invite you, if you love podcasts, if you love music, if you love books and love hearing from the people who create it, come check us out at Trevor Talks. Simply go to Google or Life Audio, type in Trevor Talks, and it'll pop on up. Hope you have a great day.
This is Empowering Homeschool Conversations, provided by Sped Homeschool. Go to spedhomeschool.com to get resources and support for teaching your unique learner at home.
So how do you and your family keep that focus on the faith things? Because I know you could, that list probably has a lot of things that have nothing to do with the real meaning of Christmas. Just happens.
True.
My family's focus is usually on food. They're like, they give me the list, and I'm like, as my schedule's getting more full, I'm like, I can't make it all. So you got to pick.
I am in that boat too. Yeah.
Yes.
And we don't need to eat all those things either.
Exactly. Yes. I'm realizing, why did I make all that stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Now we have to make it gluten-free and vegan and all these other complications.
Yeah. So I mentioned earlier, making sure you put the big things in first. And so the big thing, of course, is the spiritual focus. And there's a lot of ways to bring that into your activities so that, you don't have to have like one set of spiritual activities and the other thing that's, completely something else. But I do recommend using a Christmas devotional that sort of sets your hearts as a family. So some people like to use the same one every year. Other people have a new one every year. I like to look for a new one every year, and I found some really, really nice. If I look back, I think my favorites are one that I got that had it was all based on Handel's Messiah. So it had some bits of the music and a CD, and it had devotions that went with it. I loved that, spoke to me. But there are others that are like, you may have heard of Jesse Tree, having a Jesse Tree.
Yes,
there are devotions that go along with that.
Right.
And that just focuses on some of the names of Christ and those symbols associated with that. You could do Christmas carol studies. I mean, you can just open the Bible and read through it and talk about it. All that will help you focus on Christ. I think it's important to find a time that's going to work for you to set your heart each day. So I would typically do that in the morning with the children. And then, like, we don't want to exclude our husbands, of course, and often if they're working, they would not be part of that. So you can kind of circle around at the end of the day and talk about it. But for me, and this may not be your situation, but for me, the end of the day can get hairy sometimes, stuff happens, So I found that when I waited till, dinner time or after dinner, it could be hit and miss. And I did better at working at sitting down in the morning and just making that the first thing of the day. And so we would, we did a book or a devotion book, or we would study the names of Jesus. I did have to break. So, and that could be something you look up on the internet, or just, what they are in the Bible, and you pull out the verses. And we would do like, look at the verses surrounding the name of Jesus, discuss what that means, let the children make little papers with where they copied out the verses and made pictures to go with them. Mm-hmm. And then, you have a nice memento that you can look back onto. I actually I went and pulled mine out. So this is now, I must be a little bit of a hoarder because I do. So this is one from 2001 that my son did when he was just like 5 years old. I'm just going to say, so he's got his pictures in here, and writing out. Anyways, that it's just fun things like that where you're, focusing, they're memorizing the Bible verses and have sticker charts or something like that just makes it a lot of fun. And like a lot of people will do Advent candles to focus on those 4 weeks, the hope, peace, joy, and love. Right. And that just adds, just that really special feel. You can do that with your devotions or maybe once a week. And I have, if you're not sure about how to celebrate Advent or what that's all about, I have an article that I had written at Crosswalk. I'm going to share that in the show notes. Mm-hmm. So you can click on that link and just read about it. It's a quick read and you can see what it's all about. So a birthday party for Jesus. We would do that pretty much every year, where however you celebrate a birthday, with a cake and candles and singing and games and invite some friends over and just tell the Christmas story and thank Jesus. And it's a great opportunity if you know kids who don't get to go to church, don't know the Lord. It's a great opportunity to invite them over and just share that message of Christmas, because lots of our neighbors don't know these days that Christmas is about Jesus.
Yes.
So, reading and memorizing scripture is another great way. From Luke, we used to memorize, and have like sort of contests to see who could recite the most.
Oh, wow.
Luke chapter 2. So there's just a lot of different ways to go ahead and get involved, like to make Christ the focus. And then the other activities that we talk about, they will supplement what you're doing with devotions, but, they're kind of the side dish,
I like that. Yes, exactly. Yeah. And so it sounds like regularity. You've been talking about that and starting out, we have the most brain power in the morning. So it makes sense that, everything's going to run a lot smoother. It's going to be better received if we start the day out with that lesson, with our breakfast, or, however that goes. And then the recap at dinner time. And like you say, some things just happen and everybody's a little more distracted. And so it is helpful to have that focus early in the morning, but to bring it back, that is so important too, because we are distracted and we do need to be reminded, because we are people that are very forgetful. That's just our nature. But to go, oh yeah, that's right. This is what today was supposed to be about. How much did we actually fit in, and what, how did that pertain? And, did that look back? And that's always been a great time for our family, is that dinner time, because then Dad gets involved and Dad then gets, the update of how the day went. And yes. And so then he can get filled in, during that dinner time slot. But I love too, really what you were focusing on was personalizing it, personalizing the faith-based approach to what really resonated with your family, whether it was, about music and just what really resonates with your family and hits those chords down deep. And we're all so uniquely built, and our kids are too. And I know for my family, music, not happening. I mean, even when I had Christmas music on and I would start singing, my kids are like, seriously, Mom, just put in some music. They like their own music. They don't like mine. But it's every family's so different. And, we do lots of other things that, just maybe other families wouldn't, more crafty types of, big production types of things. So they really make your house a disaster, but my kids love it. So, but yet, and it's things you remember, and it's traditions you build. So did your family incorporate or build any new traditions when you started kind of taking this approach?
Oh yeah, this kind of all began with we didn't homeschool from the beginning with all of it. We started when my oldest was in third, fourth grade, that age. Okay. So we sort of had a whole different take on this before that. Yeah. And one of the things that we started doing a lot more of when we started homeschooling was service. The Lord impressed on me how important that is to just develop and cultivate that heart for service in our children. Yes. And so that became a part of every Christmas season also, because again, our kids can get really focused on themselves when, everybody's saying, well, what do you want for Christmas?
Right. Exactly.
You need this,
yes.
Whatever.
Yeah.
And so when we get that focus off ourselves and talk about serving others, we have simple things like, there are needy families, at church, you might have an angel tree or whatever, where you can buy gifts for others. But, you can go outside that box and think about organizations that need help. Food pantries or homeless shelters and people in nursing homes. Christmas is a popular time to visit. Why not join in? It's a good time too, to go visit people. And it could be where you're individually visiting them, or you go and help with the program they're doing or something like that. Oh, yeah. But you might have an elderly neighbor who can't really get their decorations up. Why not, take some cookies over and say, hey, would you like us to decorate your tree for you? And then we'll come take it down at the end, something like that. Yep. And they might welcome that help. Or, there's extra work around the house maybe that your kids can serve inside your home, or even serve each other. And so I like the idea of having a little jar where we put write out different things that ways that they can serve each other, and put a little paper in the jar. And then every week, or, each child pulls one out, but it's a secret. They don't tell what they got. And then they just are going to do that, that thing for the others throughout the week. So it could be doing a chore, offering to do a chore, sharing a toy, or, letting someone go first, or, different things like that, simple stuff where they're serving one another. And you can talk about that at the end of the week and who noticed? How did it feel to receive, and how did it feel to do that? Exactly. So things like that, Christmas caroling, those are ways to serve people something anyways. So that's always, I think that's another really important, high priority thing that we do in December. And it sets us for the rest of I like to continue that the rest of the year, but maybe you're not into it, and this might be your starting point.
Oh yeah, that's a good place to start. Yeah. And kids realize the gift of giving when they do things like that. We don't realize how much it fills us when we do something for someone else until we get that experience, and that then will feed that. I know in the past we've talked about volunteering before, and I think the biggest roadblock a lot of times we hit, and it's a mental roadblock, is no organization will take us because my child has too much of a special need, or we don't meet the age requirements. But you've just given us this entire list of things that we don't have to go through an organization for. We can give our children these opportunities to give in just our environment, or right outside our door. And those opportunities exist in so many places. If we just open up our eyes, we pray, we say, God, where can we be used? Where can we be your hands and feet? And he'll provide those. He wants us to have those experiences and our children to be involved in those things.
So, absolutely. Yeah. Even our extended family, and, our church family. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. There's just so many ways. I think we just have to open our ears and eyes to what needs are out there.
Mm-hmm. And the Lord does open the doors for you, opens our eyes, and then opens the doors. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And there are so many people that just need someone to sit and listen. How much can we listen, or how much can we pray? People just like walk past, other people so much now. It's those relationships we crave. Mm-hmm. And to have somebody say, yeah, I've got time. Let's just have coffee. Let's just sit and chat. Let's just be an encouragement to one another. It's super, super important, especially as we were talking at the beginning, this busy season, we miss all of this so much more. And we shouldn't be missing it. We should be much more intentional. Yeah. So yes, absolutely. All right. I'm going to get to my right document here and figure what we're talking about. So you are crafty, because I know last year at this time we talked about how to use just our own kind of ways of expressing ourselves, especially as parents. So this is a good one for you moms if you're feeling burnt out. I had an interview with Annie last year. I think it was the beginning of this year, though. And we were talking just about how God has given us the ability to create. He's the creator, and he made us creators, and just how that fills us as an individual and allows us to continue doing the other things we're called to do, because sometimes the other things we're called to do are hard, and the creative stuff that we do is such a joy to add into that space. So what kind of things like that have you in your family added into this season to just worship and make it more Christ-centered?
Yeah, so you're right. I do enjoy pretty much anything crafty except sewing. So
okay.
Sewing. But
we all
I can
have
do it, but I don't like it. But anyways, yeah, and I recognize that crafts aren't everybody's cup of tea, but there are obviously a million types of crafty things you could do. But I think it's great to let those crafts dovetail with your spiritual emphasis. So, for instance, if you're doing something like the Jesse tree, something with those symbols, like I have sets of ornaments that we made to go along with those, made out of salt dough or cinnamon or different things. There's the sky's the limit. You can make your craft kind of align with some of your devotional things, and that keeps it kind of your focus again. You could use what you make also to give to other people and bless other people. So your crafts can have that purpose. Right. So that might get you over the hump of making the mess in your house, because it does. Yes. You could make like a specially themed tree where all the decorations are made, like a Lamb of God tree, or the candy cane tree where you make all different kinds of one type of ornament, a theme. Here's an idea that I love. Taking time together, like this is a group activity. So with your family, make a scrapbook for the year. Just do that throughout the month. And then you're putting together a great memory book, as well as celebrating what God's done in the life of your family for the year. So, I mean, the sky's the limit, but you could, if you're not wanting to do it all in your house and you're part of a homeschool group, get your group together and let all the other moms plan the craft items. You can bring the snacks, or whatever. Right. Yeah. Plan a variety of crafts and just have a craft party where the kids go from station to station and get them all done in one day or something like that. So that's an idea too that we've done that many times. But anyways, those are some great ideas for getting that creative side. And then I also look at the arts. Like I think this is a great month to bring in some of the arts. So, for instance, there are lots of local shows, whether it's a play or Dance, of course, there's a lot of dance opportunities to go and watch and see the ballet or something like that you might not do at some other time. Or churches have really great programs. So you don't even, they're free. And you can go to other churches and see their programs. They want to bless people. You could go be blessed by what they've done. Orchestras and music and dance are in those shows too. So go and do those kinds of things. And the focus is again on Christ in those kinds of things. I always love this myself, but we would do little family skits. So, sometimes I'd find one that had a script and everything that we, actually practice for a couple weeks or whatever, and then put it on in the living room. But other ideas would be like, just give your kids the Christmas story and give them access to some props or whatever that they can let them kind of go at it and come up with their rendition of the Christmas story, and just let them. So we would do like invite our neighbors over or a family, and then we'd sit around the living room and they put on their little show. And so, or if you said you're not into the music thing, but if your kids are learning to play instruments or sing or something, you could do a little mini recital in your living room and invite people over. So, so stuff like that, I really think those are the things that my kids still remember lines from those skits that we did.
Absolutely. Yes. And it teaches them just how to perform, how to be in front of people. You're still teaching, you're still learning, but just in a different avenue, and you're celebrating the season as well. And it doesn't have to be some huge production that your child is in. Yeah, it can be in your living room, like you said, and it still makes it extremely special. With my aerial students, I have some students that are learning, they're just going to perform for their parents next week. And they're so nervous when they've got 5 people they're performing for, and it's, but then I have my performance team, and they performed for 3 hours at our biggest city event. We were playing Christian music and just praising God in the middle of the space. And it was just amazing. But there's so many opportunities like that around that, if you just kind of look out and get connected and figure out what's going on, there's people, are just giving away their gifts and talents, and to just take advantage of that. And it's a learning experience. I mean, you're enriching the culture. You're teaching your kids about different forms of worship and art. And, we forget that this is all learning. And it isn't just, we're taking a break from learning. No, you're still learning.
Yes, absolutely. You count these days when you do this stuff.
Exactly. Yes, you do. And you're probably fitting in math and reading and writing and all those other things in the process too. But just, it may not look like it comes out of a book or a specific curriculum and all those things that we think are official and need to happen, in order for a child to learn. So actually, I think you pointed out that these are the things your kids remember the most. And they do. And isn't that where real learning is taking place?
It is true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and you can definitely keep some of your academics, like the reading and the writing, and we can keep doing some of those things, but even that can be sort of wrapped around a Christmas theme, especially any of your English studies. You can maybe set aside whatever you're doing throughout the rest of the year and just focus on something that's more Christmas oriented. I know with that I always have a basket of my Christmas books. I definitely am a book hoarder. I admit it. Right here. So I have a lot of books, but I will get out all the Christmas ones, and they're not even out the rest of the year. And we, with the younger kids, and you can do read aloud times with those books. Older kids might read a more in-depth book, or and you can assign things, writing or presentations or, like a character study or literature synopsis or whatever. On those, you can make illustrations for books. The sky's the limit on things like that. So you can just learn, things you think of as your traditional learning opportunities, but do it around that Christmas theme. And I like Christmas as a time to bring out some poetry, bring that into it. There are lots of poems for Christmas, different genres of poems, and you can read those. You can try your hand at writing some of them, after you've read some, then see if and some kids will hate that and some are going to love it, but we should all try it at some point in life.
You have to see if you do like it or not.
Didn't you all have to at some point write haiku poetry or something, whatever. So you try writing them. And again, this is a great opportunity. You might have a kid that really loves writing poetry. So you can they can make their own book of their own poems, but you might just have them copy ones they really liked, or make a book of family poetry, some that you guys wrote yourself, some that you really liked, make a little booklet of that kind of thing again, and you get them out the next year and read them again. So it's just fun to do something different, write Christmas themed stories, short stories, illustrate them. Take the point of view of someone in the Bible, and be that person in the Christmas, the nativity story in the Bible. Get creative like that. So there's all kinds of opportunities to continue with English and writing and.
Does your family have some favorite literature that you've over the years have either happened upon one time or keep going back to during the season?
Well, like I said, I do have a basket of books looking at over here, but it's, I have a lot of, I like kids books, actually, the illustrated ones, and I have a lot of Max Lucado has a bunch of books that is it Max Lucado? I think it is. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he has some. And so some of those and, some of the old timey ones like The Night Before Christmas, there's just all kinds. Some are spiritual emphasis, some not so much, but they're just, it's fun to do that. And and then I just have other, sort of novels and things like that. But good stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. And you just never know. We happened upon this one book. I don't even remember where I bought it, but it ended up being my kid's favorite. And it was actually Christian based. It's called The Christmas Lizard. And this lizard makes his way up the Christmas tree, and he's talking to all these ornaments that, have these weird meanings of Christmas, and what they think Christmas is. And then he finally gets to the top and he sees the nativity, and the star tells him the real Christmas story. And my kids always wanted me to read the story about this lizard, climbing up this tree and finding the true meaning of Christmas. And I don't even know where I found it or if it's even sold anymore, but it's been our favorite book. So you just never know what you're gonna fall on for that. So what about cultural studies?
Oh yeah, well, there's so much we can learn about other cultures at Christmas time. Many cultures celebrate Christmas, so but they do it with their own flair, with their own traditions and things like that. So you can read about those kinds of things. Sometimes there's a museum or something like that. I know I've lived in some different places, but almost always there's been something like a Christmas around the world kind of display, maybe at a museum that you can go and learn there. You can maybe just focus on one culture in particular. You could do like a whole make a craft, like an ornament like they might have, read a story. You could do like a sort of unit study on that. You could eat foods, that kind of thing. Or you could do like a smattering of different cultures. So you can get more personal with it too. Like maybe a family who's from a different culture.
Right.
Why not invite them over? And make a little potluck, like they bring something, you make something, and then you try different foods. And, you kind of coach your kids ahead of time about maybe asking some questions about their traditions and why they do things. And that another idea is like, maybe you don't know a family nearby, but maybe you have missionaries at your church who are in another country.
Yes.
You could reach out to them, and your kids could correspond by email, or better yet, have a Zoom call where they sort of interview them. And so probably I would think some missionaries would be happy to do something like that with your family.
Oh, yeah.
And you could just, see what ideas you might incorporate into your own celebration. So that's a great way to just learn about different cultures and expand your traditions even.
Right. Yeah. And it helps us to focus on what traditions we have that maybe are cultural. I know my family has a whole bunch, but why do we do them? And was this any focus around, or is it it seems like we like to revisit our heritage during this time. Even if the things that it's like we do the things that relate to, like, our background is Norwegian, and Czech. And so we have certain like foods that we only eat at Christmas, but it doesn't mean that they were Christmas foods from that culture. It's just, that's what we do, because it seems that time of year when we want to refocus, that it's that homecoming type of thing that, and so it's just that, in us, we want that peace. We want that home type of culture. And so, but to know that what other people are doing is theirs, and it's not wrong. It's just different. And for our kids to be able to embrace that from their perspective versus us just saying, well, this is what we do and that's what they do. But why do they do it? And can we maybe, you just never know. You may adopt some of these other cultural practices because they're just so cool. We got invited to a Christmas last year. The family that invited us, they were from the UK. That's where they were growing up. So they have those poppers. I had never experienced them before. And inside them were these wind up reindeers, and we had reindeer races. And we were joking about it last night because the couple that leads our small group, they were the ones who invited us over. And they're like, and they made us play charades. And it's like totally not our family culture at all. But it was so fun to just, experience the celebration in a new way.
Yeah. And you get to appreciate other people and respect those differences.
Exactly. Yes.
Important.
And it's important when we live in such a segmented culture now. We say we're so open, but really we were just very opinionated, and we're surrounded by people with other opinions.
So we want to listen to certain, ones of them.
But, all people who follow Christ, and celebrate Christmas, we can do it differently, and it doesn't mean we're doing it wrong. Jesus is so different, beyond our own human boundaries, and we forget that in our own faith as well as in our own practices. So then just family bonding types of things. Like, I know we did a lot of field trips during the season just because there was so much, like you were talking about the theater and things like that. What other family bonding types of experiences can we focus on that?
Well, I'll, one thing that I would say that's really important is just as a family to learn to be hospitable to other people, to teach people or teach our children about not just sort of the etiquette part of hospitality but also the heart of it. Christ, we may not think of him this way, but he's hospitable. He opened his home. He made the way. He put out the welcome mat for us to be in his home. And so when we learn to be hospitable as a family, we're exhibiting that. And so I really do enjoy having people over for, or teaching my children how to prepare. So as a family preparing together, like, what do you have to do if someone's coming to your home for dinner, you need to prepare a menu. You need to fix the food. You might clean up a little bit,
Right.
You don't have to have it perfect, because that's a lie about hospitality. You don't have to have a perfect home. You just need to have an open heart and a willingness to share. So you can do all these things together as a family, and it really is bonding. So, you can use some of the crafts you made as table decorations or place cards. And so it all kind of comes together in this way. So you're teaching them, well, like, what do we do when people knock on the door? Well, we go and we welcome them. What do we do when it's time for them to leave? We see them off. When it's time to eat, we let them go first. We pick something that to make them feel comfortable and at ease in your home. So all of those kinds of things are great bonding experiences.
Absolutely.
There are some other things like, just kind of fun activities. We would often, we still do it actually almost every year, is get hot chocolate and cookies and jump in the car one night and go out and drive around and look at all the lights. Something like that. Put some Christmas music on in the car. We don't. Well, we still do it sometimes, but it's not as comfortable for me anymore. But we'll have a camp out by the Christmas tree. We all get our sleeping bags and sleep by the Christmas tree, and just have a little party with that. We will, sometimes go caroling. That kind of thing. Of watching a favorite movie together that you watch year after year.
Right.
Cooking together, I think, is bonding.
Yep, that is. Yep.
Even having, like a family prayer time. Or maybe you have, put in a jar, and of course this you can do all year round, but put in a jar, like let the kids put their prayer requests in there, and then, once a week in particular, pull out the jar and pray for each other and pray for other people that we're concerned about. So, all of these things just really bring about that family bonding, the fun, the things like we were talking about, the traditions that knit our hearts, as a family.
Absolutely. And we interweave our faith and our hope and our joy into those. And so it just gets embedded all the more in our kids' hearts, instead of just, we're going to do a lesson here.
Yeah.
Then we're going to, do this here, and then it's Christmas season. Yeah. And so
think about all those lessons that you did as a kid, maybe. I mean, how many of them do we really remember?
Yeah. None. Exactly. Yes. But kids will remember those discussions you had while sitting in sleeping bags around the tree, and so many other things that you do. And that will then bring internally. They may not remember the entire discussion, but they will remember what that focus was, and that's what we want left. That is what we want carried on in the next generation, and that's what's most important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That really gets to the, the Deuteronomy chart in Deuteronomy 6 about, whether you're walking or standing or whatever you're doing, all along the way, you are imparting God's word, his ways, and to your children. And it's a more natural way for them to acquire and understand him.
Yes, absolutely. And it gets past the head and into the heart, where we want to be. No. Yeah. The head, it can cause a lot of complications. We get our own opinions in there, and our kids get theirs, but that stuff that's buried in the heart stays. So, yeah. Well, Annie, this has been a great conversation. I know you shared a lot of resources with me that I'm going to put in the show notes, and I'd love to spend a little bit of time for you to just kind of go over what those are and what people can find if they click on those links.
Sure. I do want to just offer right up front a Christmas devotional, because we talked about that type of thing. And I offer this just as a gift to people. It's free, and there'll be a link for it. It's a 4-week devotional called Celebrate Christ. and it just gives you that focus that we were talking about. So if you need an easy way to just access it has like
and it's really
Bible
short
memory
too.
verses.
Don't think that you're downloading this huge download. Annie made it super simple, and it's beautiful.
It's something you can implement really easily, because that's important, I think.
Right.
Anyways.
Absolutely.
So, ongoing from there, please visit my website, annieyorty.com, and sign up there. I have some free gifts, a journal page, and also some prayers that might encourage you, especially if you're dealing with illness or just some difficulty. Those prayers are really helpful. And and you can just, I have a blog there that you'll be encouraged by, I hope. And anyways, I love to connect with people there. You can also, there's a way to contact me if you want to, and I love to hear from people. So go ahead and do that. My book is, as we mentioned earlier, From Ignorance to Bliss. And you can learn more about that at my website or on something like Amazon. Mm-hmm. And I'll just tell you, because I do love, I have always loved Christmas and all things about Christmas. So, I am just putting the finishing touches on a Christmas devotional, which is entitled, at least at the moment, Find Christ in 25 Symbols of Christmas. So it helps us to take those symbols and traditions that we do at Christmas. Some of them are not what you would think of as religious ones, like Santa Claus is in there, but he's a huge symbol of our season. You can't avoid him. Mm-hmm. So what I do is I use these symbols to help you to really think about how that might relate, what's in the spirit of that symbol or tradition that brings us to a focus on Christ with each and every one of them. Oh, that's going to come out late next fall, and you can kind of follow its progress there at my website as well. Yeah. So I hope you all can enjoy that next year for Christmas. Mm-hmm. And I write at Crosswalk for homeschool families and parenting in general. So you can check me out there at crosswalk.com. And cool. I just really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you all about this really important topic.
It is.
Christmas is so huge in our culture, and we want to make it just focus in this month where we need. That's what makes it meaningful. Nothing else is meaningful if we don't know Christ. So this is a way to bring that home to your kids.
Exactly. Yeah, God keeps reminding me everything else will be gone. Whatever wasn't done in me, it was a waste of your time. Mm-hmm. And, as we get older, I'm realizing how much time I've wasted. and I'm just like, God, I pray every day now. Don't let me make that mistake to pick something that's not going to be worth my time. Mm-hmm. I want it to be in you so it lasts forever. And, to be purposeful. And that doesn't mean we're going to be doing a lot. It probably means we're going to be doing less, but what we do is impactful and it's going to stay. And that's what's most important. And to take that shift with how we home educate too. It's what's going to last. As Annie and I were talking, it's, the things your kids remember. Sometimes those lessons that are impactful and really set those memories in place and set those concepts in place, those foundational things were worth the preparation and the prayer ahead of time, instead of just saying, we just got to slam it in and get it done. And then nothing comes about from it. And
if I could just add, because I think you're getting at a super important point that I've just laid on you like 100 things you could do. Right. And I just want to say, I didn't do that to put any stress on anyone. There is no obligation to do even one of these things. So this is a season where I want you to feel joy. and not stress.
Absolutely.
So you just kind of sift through those ideas and put them through the process of prayer. And you just hear from God about what's right for your family, what your kids are interested in, what they can tolerate, what their abilities are and their gifts, and pick what works for you. Please don't take away from this. Oh my word, I need to go do all these things, because you don't.
Right.
And this is just to help you, because we have such a varied audience.
Yeah.
And then there's maybe something for everybody, but not everything for everybody.
Yes, exactly. Or different years. You can focus on something one year and something another year. And I think that really ties in with the one question we had submitted ahead of time of the show. Grace had asked, how do I know if I'm doing enough for my son with disabilities? And, it goes back to just what Annie said. You just have to pray, and God will provide you exactly what you need to do today. And that's what you focus on today. And it will be enough. So, yeah.
Yeah. I would say just, remember that you are in this for the long haul. And frankly, every parent asks that question about every kid, as a parent of a child with special needs, it can be like a long wait sometimes to see progress. You can really, sometimes you're not getting feedback like you would get normally, but you pray about that and you do what God leads you to do. And along the way, look for signs of progress.
Yes.
Because that's really the goal here, is to just keep progressing. And our children with special needs don't progress in the same way that everybody else does. Well, really,
nobody does. There's no average. Yes.
So we got that. But just look for progress. And I mean, if you really have a serious concern, you can see a professional or maybe get some ideas from other people about that, or see what's going on there. But really just this is a long-term investment.
Absolutely.
And you're going to have long seasons of well, is this working? Just keep persevering and praying. And remember that all parents make mistakes. And none of us is sufficient for everything in terms of giving our kids everything they need. The Lord is going to step into those gaps, and His grace flows over your family and your children and you. So keep that in mind too. Yes. Don't judge yourself too harshly there.
Those are some great closing comments. Yes, absolutely. That's just beautiful. Thank you so much, Annie. And everybody, I just encourage you to go visit Annie's website, AnnieYorty.com, and it's ANNIE. If you're not seeing the screen, if you're listening to the podcast, but just know in the show notes, you can click on that link as well, whether you're on the podcast or watching on YouTube. So thank you again for being on the show. It's always delightful. I appreciate all you had to share, and just what a way to be, diving into the season.
Well, thank you, Peggy. I have totally enjoyed myself, and I want to wish you a Merry Christmas, and I want to wish everyone listening a Merry Christmas as well.
Absolutely. Yes. Merry Christmas to you too. And we are going to be on a totally different topic for my next show, homeschooling from to-do list to purposeful parent, which kind of has the same type of vibe, because we kind of talked a little bit about that. But my guest is going to hone in on how do we make that shift, especially if that's something really, really hard for you. And so we're going to get you some equipment for that, and in helping to make that not such a fearful or maybe monumental task. So you want to join us for that. So we'll just see you next time for that show. But thanks again, Annie. Appreciate it. And thank you all for joining us. We'll see you next time. God bless. Bye.
Bye-bye.
I want to take just a second to thank the team at Life Audio for their partnership with us on this podcast. If you go to lifeaudio.com, you'll find dozens of other faith-centered podcasts in their network. They've got shows about prayer, Bible study, parenting, and more.
This has been Empowering Homeschool Conversations with Peggy Ployer.
Finding uplifting news in today's headlines is often like searching for a needle in a haystack. At the Story Behind podcast, we believe in the power of finding heartwarming tales and are happy to share empowering stories with you every week. Hear about how Steve Harvey surprised a dying man on Family Feud with $25,000. Get inspired by the note a waitress received from a patron dining alone. And even hear about how one VIP passenger made a hardworking pilot get emotional before his flight. To start listening to the Story Behind podcast, visit lifeaudio.com or search Story Behind on your favorite podcast platform.